Welcome back to the dopest show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer. This is Sasha. I spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but I've been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I did to get put in prison, the crazy stuff that happened while I was in prison, and God forbid you end up in prison. I want to make some of the same mistakes I made. So, Chicken Man made $100,000 in prison. No family support, and he didn't do it selling dope either. His name kind of suits him. So there are different. Oh, Anthony Kelly. First off, thank you. He donated $10. Put it down in there to the junkie with a monkey fund. Thank you, Anthony Kelly. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I'll talk more on that in the end. But anyway, back to the story. So there are different hustles when you get to prison. When I first got to the low security, there was this guy who'd go cell to cell. It was a dormitory type setting with cubicle dividers, similar to what is Orange is the New Black. How they had their little dividers, except the dividers went up 7 foot high, and it was just an open door. There was no door on each room. And there was this guy who came around, skinny black fella, always looked like he was high, and he would try to push onions and green peppers on you, almost to the point where even if you did want it, you wouldn't want to bite off him because you felt like he was trying to make you buy it. And it didn't sit with. I don't like anybody trying to. When I get that type feeling. He'd probably talk to himself out of more sales. I don't know. That might work on some people, that type of pressure. Of me, it just pisses me off. I never ate onions or green peppers, ever, until I went to prison. Now I love them. I make them on everything. I throw them in there, fry them up with some steak. Good God almighty. But anyway, they're different hustles. And the kitchen is one of the biggest, consistent, steady, always will be hustles. So, I worked in the kitchen for 90 days against my will. Let me explain that. When I went to the medium security, I told you about the terrible tyrant counselor that I had in my unit, the one that catered to the chomos. So, you have to get a job after you go to orientation, which is usually within 2 weeks. If you do not have a job within 2 days, she would throw you in the kitchen, and once you're in the kitchen, you're not allowed to quit the kitchen until 90 days is up, and you have to have a new job. The job most people would get was compound. Compound is a job where you just go clean the compound, sweep, break, pick up trash, and if you don't want to work, you just show up, sign the no pay sheet, then go back to the unit. It's a way that you don't have to work if you don't want to work, but the people who do want to work can work. Well, she wouldn't allow you to sign up for the compound. That wasn't something that was allowed. So I ended up having to pay somebody $50 through their connections to get me a no-pay, no-show job at rec. So I have a job at rec that I'm not sure. It's a no-pay job, no-show job. Well, one day over the loudspeaker when I was asleep, the rec guy hollered, "If I hadn't seen you in a while, you better show your face." So I got fired from that job, which was a no-show job, and I didn't know it. I was asleep. I took a nap every afternoon. Me and my silly Armando in there, and we had a really cool CO working the unit that day. And he woke me up, and I'm grumpy when I get woke up. He says, "They want you down at the kitchen." I said, "What for?" And when you work in the kitchen, he says, "I don't know. They want you down there." So I walked down there in my shorts and t-shirt. When you work in the kitchen, regardless of whether it's lunch or dinner, you're supposed to wear the khaki uniform. And the first thing the guy says, the kitchen guard says, "Where's your uniform, young man?" I said, "Well, what am I doing here?" "Well, you're working in the kitchen." I said, "I've already got a job." "Well, apparently not anymore." And so I had to stand there that whole day in shorts and a t-shirt and then work in the kitchen for 90 days. And funny side note on that, they started implementing this thing. Basically, how it works is you'd have to show up at noon and stay there till 7 o'clock. If you weren't a cook, then basically during that time, you just sat at the tables and did nothing for 6 hours. It was a complete waste of time. They did pay the inmates by the hour, and they implemented this thing that if you did not want to work extra, you could go back to the unit after lunch was done, then come back at 4 o'clock at the 4:30 count. Or at the 4 o'clock, 3:40, at the 3:40 move, and go back and finish out working. And he said, and I raised my hand and I said, "Put me on that one." Everybody laughed, and the one guard, he said beforehand, he said, "Well, if you aren't a hard worker, you're probably going to get put on anyway." I said, "Put me on that one." And he said, "My man, I'm sure you're already on that." And the other guard who actually liked me, I was a hard worker. I busted my butt when I was working. It's something, I'm OCD. I worked the salad bar. There was never anything empty. And then I ran the trays back and I worked my butt off. But I only, it was crap pay. But anyway, that guard spoke up and he said, no, actually he's not. He's one of our best work. He says, Mom Power, are you sure? I said, yes. I said, it's been cool, but not really. Put me on that one. And once that was up, I ended up, what did I end up doing? I ended up getting switched. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to come back on that one. I ended up going to the drug unit shortly after. I might have had job switched there to compound. But anyway, beside the point. How it works is this. There are different departments, okay? If you're just an average person in the kitchen, your job is just to wipe tables, okay, or push the trays back and forth, or to serve the food on the line. They have like 60, 70 people doing that. It's way overstaffed. Most of the kitchen workers just stand around the perimeter watching people eat the whole meal. It's complete foolishness. There's the dish room. The dish room Satan ran. Satan was my buddy's Aryan Brotherhood dude. Now, before anybody gets mad at me about that, back then I was with my ex, who I affectionately refer to as I no good, down dirty hussy. Awful, awful person. She was black. So, it's not like I'm chilling with those type of people. So, don't get that idea, Actually, they were way less bad about that racial stuff than the little runaround wannabe guys. But anyway, the ways people make money in there, they got the veggie prep guys, 3 guys. They cut up vegetables. They got to cut up like 100, 200 vegetables, onions, all kinds of stuff to put it in there. Out of the vegetables, there's usually stealing about 50 onions and peppers. How they do that is they put 50 onions and peppers in a bag, and they put it in the trash bag. Then they put the actual trash bag and they throw the trash in it. So after they wheel it out, they get them back out because they're locked in the veggie prep room because they've got real knives, like butcher knives, like like Michael Myers type knives, and they're all attached to like this steel string so you can't take them out of there, but they lock them in there when they cut stuff up just for safety precautions. That's a good paying job. Those guys make a lot of money. Here's how they make it. Those veggies they steal out of there, they sell them for 50 cents a piece to the kitchen workers, to the 60, 70 people standing in there. A lot of those guys get hustles like that. They'll buy like 10 of those vegetables for $5, sneak it back to the unit, sell it for $10. You made $5. Okay, doesn't sound like a lot, but in a month's time, $150, you'll be eating pretty good. The cook is ultimately who made the most money, though. And this man got the nickname Chicken Man, and I'm going to tell you how. The most they can really make in the kitchen, grade 1 is like up to like $200. That's the most. But he was making hundreds and hundreds of dollars, sometimes hundreds of dollars a day. Okay, the cook prepares the meat. He might make 10 trays of meat, so it's like a salad bar tray. He will sell each one of those trays for about depending on what it is, $5-10, $10 a tray. He'll sell probably 3-4 of those a meal. So he's making $30-40 off each meal by selling those. He'll sell it to the workers. Those workers will make 3 bread bags, take it back to the unit. They'll make $15 off their $5 investment or $30 off their $10 investment. So they're making money off it. But here's the thing. They have to smuggle it out. People in the back, there's the dish room guys too. They just wash stuff off, but there's no real hustle in that. The guys will get in the back and they will strap meat to their body and saran wrap themselves like they're going through an airport security thing, trying not to get caught with dope, and they'll make it so it's smooth to their body. There was a guy they called Fats who was probably about 500 or 600 pounds, and he'd put bread bags underneath his flap, underneath his belly. Yeah, and he'd sneak it out. There was another dude who was in a wheelchair. Now, some people they just roll the spork and stuff up. They'll roll it up in a paper towel and they hand the rolled up spork and paper. His job was rolling that up, but they would use him. He would sit on 3 or 4 bread bags, put a blanket over top of the meat, roll right out. Never caught him ever. He was making a good bit of money doing that. But see, the reason the cook makes so much money, the cook sells it while it's still in the kitchen. He doesn't have to smuggle it out. He doesn't have to run that risk. Now, Chicken Man, why he got that nickname was there were lax guards that were not super cops working the first unit. It's a circular shaped walkway. There are 3 V-shaped complexes that have 4 pods on each, 2 on the bottom, 2 on top. The closest one to the kitchen, he was fixing fried chicken every day, 7 days a week. I saw fried chicken on I guess like a Monday or something. Like, they don't serve fried chicken on Monday. They're like, yeah, but he's cooking it every day. I couldn't believe it. And I saw something that actually blew my mind. The balls on these people. They have these giant things that like keep stuff warm. They hold like 10 trays, right? Somebody wheeled one of those giant things that's on wheels. It's a steel. It looks like a refrigerator on wheels. It's got a door open. It keeps stuff hot. They wheeled an entire one of those to the first unit and unloaded it. The COs would be off doing other stuff. Some be back in the office doing whatever. Not. They wheeled a whole thing. Okay, that's 10 trays of chicken. The chicken was a high dollar commodity, and all this I heard. I think it might have been Wes Watson or somebody stupid like that talking about $50 for a thing. Nobody in their mind in the existence of prison has paid $50 for a piece of chicken. That's foolish. You pay about $1 for it, maybe $2 at the most for a fried chicken breast, and it's actually good. Now, don't advocate prison. It sucked. It lost my 20s. It was a sucky place. But one thing that I can say is I'm a picky eater, and the food really was not that bad. Jail, absolutely terrible, especially the Western Virginia Regional Jail in Salem, Virginia. I knew a counterfeiter at Petersburg who'd been to 20-some jails across the East Coast, and he said the regional jail where I live, in next to Roanoke in Salem, Virginia, is the worst food he's ever had. But anyway, in prison, can't say the same. So how does this work? How do people sell it? They'd be out on the walkway selling it. So during regular operational hours, you are locked down for 50 minutes at a time, and then 10 minutes on the hour, they'll say 10-minute move, 10-minute move. You can go to a rec, to your work, to medical, to education, wherever you got to go, you got 10 minutes to get there. So, but during dinner time, they release the buildings one at a time. They do an inspection. The cleanest building eats first, the dirtiest eats last, but they start serving at 5, and they keep it open until like 6, sometimes 6:30. That entire time, the walkway is open. People be out in the walkway selling stuff. There was a guy who they called Dirty. He wasn't dirty, but he'd actually taken culinary arts classes. He had fried spaghetti bowls with chorizo sausage that he'd make. He'd sell them $2 for a little, it's like little paper bowls, like one of them. They'd have people out there selling cheesecake for $1 a slice. They'd have people selling everything. They had whole pizzas that people made out of dough, real dough from the kitchen. Everything. Some people, Paul, Greg, and Bambi, sometimes they'd be out there selling wine. They'd cut a hole in their jacket and they'd have bags of wine, and they'd sell it like that. I guess they kept it bags because it kind of filled in with the stuffing or whatever, but people were out there selling everything. Sometimes they were selling dope if that was what was going on. But Chicken Man was literally, for like a few months period, what had happened was we got word of it, like we overheard the guards talking about this. They said $60,000 in chicken had been stolen over like a 3 or 4 month period. They sent special investigators there to now this is rumor. This is what I heard, okay? So I can't verify, that's what the rumor, and that's what I overheard, that's what I believe to be true, and there was crackdowns after this, okay? So $60,000 of chicken got stolen, and I believe it. They had fried chicken 7 days a week, individually saran wrapped on the walkway. I loved it, man. That's the only time. For a good while, I didn't go to the kitchen. I just ate off Commissary, or I'd eat meat they smuggle back, because they steal so much meat. A lot of meat doesn't get on the tray. So even though food was good, you don't get a whole lot, and it's not as great. Some meals were trash, but a lot were good. Fried chicken, they did that. I mean, I can't lie about that. Sit here and lie to you and tell you, oh, it was just the worst, most awful thing ever. It really wasn't. Every Wednesday, got a burger, fries, all the stuff, pickles, lettuce, onions, tomatoes. The food, for the most part, now it wasn't what it should be. It wasn't the amount that it should be, okay? It was not. And now the milk in the mornings, you had to smell it and pour a little bit out first because half the time it was rotten. And they do feed you, there's some stuff, but a lot of the stuff, I'm talking about the meats, the main stuff, but like the other stuff, there's some stuff that said not for human consumption back there that they were cooking up. But Chicken Man, on his account, wasn't quite 100, it was almost. It was like 96,000. He showed his prison account. It shows up on the computer. He'd made that while he'd been in prison for about 20 years. And he had bundles of stamps. Stamps are currency. Back then, stamps were like 48, 49 cents a piece. So here's an ironic thing too. Dollar stamps are worth $1. Those 48, 49 cent stamps only counted as 33 cents in prison currency. You could have brand new 48, 49 cent stamps. That's how much it was back then. And 3 of those equaled $1, while an old, decrepit, fallen apart, unusable dollar stamp that's probably 20 years old counted as a prison dollar. Go figure. But he had these bundles saved everywhere. So how does he make money? Okay, a lot of the people that make money, regardless of whether they sell drugs, whether they're selling food, loan sharking, gambling, whatever, you get the prison currency, the stamps. And they'll sell them to people. They'll sell them at a discounted rate. This is actually what kind of got me caught up at the low was I bought mackerel. Because, see, the low security had weights. The medium did not. The low security, where it had weights, stamps were not money. Packs of fish were money. Mackerel were money. Mackerel cost like $1 to $1.15 on commissary. That was the standard prison dollar. A pack of tuna counted as $1 too, but it was like $1.50 on commissary. But mackerel was the gold standard for it. So I bought a bunch of mackerel for weightlifting purposes, cheap protein, and put money on somebody's books. My name showing up. That ended up getting me caught up. But anyway, so people will call their family, have them put money on this man's books. He was giving people like $120 prison dollars for $80 on his account. That's a deal. That's a good deal. I mean, typically it was like $120 for $100 in stamps, but he was, it was $100 for 120 prison dollars. I mean, that's what I meant. Sorry, got a little dyslexic moment there. But he was doing like $80 for like 120. Like it was a deal, and he had so many stamps hidden across the place. A couple of my friends that worked in maintenance accidentally came about one, and it had like the number written on it. Took that, he had so much money, prison money, he didn't have enough places to sell it. Like, he was literally making that much money and made it for that amount of time. I know various people that don't have anybody, and some of them just do drugs, mess off. A lot of them save up, so then they'll have themselves a realistic good start when they get out. When he gets out, they'll write him a check, and he'll be able to cash that check, and he'll be able to get himself a start. They have a thing called Unicor, which is private prison industries. It's basically legalized slavery, but the inmates don't complain because it's the highest paying job. Starting out, brand new, I believe it's $1 an hour is what they pay, which is incredible for inmate pay. I mean, you're going to be making $160 a month starting pay at Unicor. You make $300 usually within 2 years every month. One guy I knew, it's another story, his charges, but anyway. He made up to $800 to $900 a month, but he was working 60 hours a week for 4 weeks straight. In prison, he made $900 a month, and he's sending money home to help support his kid. So some of these people do stuff like this to get a start. I knew one guy who worked in Unicor, though, and I knew what he was doing. He saved up about $30,000, $40,000, and his plan was to go to Texas, try to buy a kilo, which down there, the whole prices, people think they know drug prices. Okay, in the federal system where the big dogs get sent. We had 3 people in my building that got charged with more than 200 kilos. One guy got caught in a freaking submarine, Hoffa. It was Fox's celly. But the other guy, he was like the Pied Piper. Just looked like a chubby middle-aged man going bald, but everybody'd follow him around, and he was like the guy. Got caught with an absurd amount. And then there was Sean. Sean had a 500-kilo conspiracy case. So these are the big dogs. And from them, I heard about prices and what prices were. And of course, you watch stuff on TV. Coke price back when I was doing it used to be about half of what it is now. And then my buddy JB, who's here in Roanoke, he got caught selling somebody a kilo for $45,500, but it was untouched. People are re-bricking it, and people thinking it. But down in Texas, they're selling it for 25,000. So what this dude's plan was to go to Texas, get it for 25, drive it up northeast, make 40 off of it, and get something started there. Stupid plan. He should have taken that money. I don't know what he did. Didn't keep up with him. Couldn't tell you. But that was his plan, and he's like, it's one shot, one last shot. It's a big rip. It'll pay off. It'll set me up. And I'm just thinking, man, come on. He had it so together in there. He was so together. It's super involved. He got fitness degrees and everything else, and he's thinking about doing this when he gets out. But anyway, that walkway at dinner time, man, they had all kinds of stuff. They had candy, different kinds of stuff people made. People could really make some interesting stuff. We had a very interesting commissary. We got foods you would not exist. They had smoked oysters, smoked clams, salmon, mackerel, tuna, sardines, chorizo sausage, summer sausage, the halal sausage, 2 different types of peppers that were stored in oils. I got good at making fried rice in the microwave. I never knew how to do it. Taught myself how to do that when I was in there. I got so good at making rice, the Mexicans had me cooking their rice, because I hung with the Paises. My Silly Armando, he was number 2 for the Amigos, and they bring me the stuff, and I'd make it. Basically, I'd get a giant meal with enough to eat for the next day for nothing, just for cooking it. But what I did was I used the oil from these peppers, and instead of using olive oil to fry it, I used that oil from the peppers, and it gave it a zing to it. And then I put soy sauce and everything else into it too. A pack of mustard too. I know it sounds gross, but there's certain things independently they're no good, but when you mix them all together, they make. I love food. I'm a fat boy at heart. I'm 500 pounds, 600 pounds on the inside. If I'm not careful, if I'm not careful about it, manage it, man, I get up there. I've done it before. Got back down now, but anyway, yeah, I love food. Chicken Man caused an investigation. After that, what happened was anytime at lunch, during the meal, whenever you left the building, you had to go through what was called the gauntlet. The gauntlet meant there were 3 guards on each side, and they're patting down like 75% of the people that come out of that kitchen, patting them down all the way up and down. And that's how they cracked down on security, because he stole allegedly $60,000 of chicken in like a 3 or 4 month period. So they had 6 guards outside the kitchen. You had to get felt up and hold your arms out every time you walked out. And then during dinner time too. But which is stupid, because the time when they stole it was at 7 o'clock. After the kitchen shut down and they released the kitchen, that's when people walked out. And they only had one CO patting every other person down then. Anyway, that's just a little brief random rundown about this stuff. Had a long day today. Had one of my insomnia nights the other night. Had a lot of family stuff going on. Had somebody pass away on Casey's side. Mom's having some health issues. So it's been a hectic last couple days. So anyway, Anthony Verichelli, thank you, buddy. For those of y'all who don't know, thinking about getting a pet monkey, junkie with a monkey, sounds pretty cool. But if I don't do that, I'm arranging it. I've got to write letters to get a hold of people, but phone calls with some of these people, like Clarence Eugene Robinson. You can look that name up. Type Clarence Eugene Robinson and triple murder in Google, and you will see what I'm talking about. This is a living legend from Florida's underworld. Who taught me to play handball. Sean Pintard, I want to write him a letter, see if he'd be interested in, talking to me. And what I'm doing is I'm going to do a phone call, talk to them. I'm out here, they're inside, talk to them on a phone call, get it on here. Think it'd be interesting, I'm not going to talk about anything that could potentially get them in trouble. I'm smarter than that. Even in person, when nobody was around, I didn't ask them questions that I shouldn't be asking them. I've got more sense than that. And plus, if I did anything of that sort, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. But anyway, so that's, give them a few bucks for it. They've only got 300 minutes a month. It costs so much to make a phone call. Plus, I'd like to be able to help, a little bit extra. So give them a few bucks for that. So that's where the money gets donated. That's what the plans for it are. Still in the infancy. I've only been doing this for like 4 or 5 months now. So this thing's just getting started now. Still figuring it out. Anyway, if you liked the video, think I earned it. If you watched it all the way up until this point, press the like button. If not, 24 minutes and 15 seconds of your life, in which you'll never ever get back. And for that, I'm truly sorry. But I hope you did. Y'all have a good one.